out a little bit late last night with this election that we had last night, so a little weary-eyed, some of us this morning, but we do appreciate the turnout. As you can see, that flanked by me, we have a number of signs here that are really kind of telling the story, but it goes a lot deeper than signs. I don't think it's any big secret that recruitment in law enforcement's been a challenge not only for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, but police departments across the country. We move heaven and earth to get the right people in here, qualified people in here, and we're really making a big push to get experienced people in here through a lateral incentive program that was launched. I want to say it was early this month, November 1st to be precise. So lateral incentive program, right? It's like Mandarin to most of us laymen. So essentially what this is having the ability to recruit police officers, experienced police officers from other organizations around the country, right? Dangling some incentives, dangling some perks, letting them know about the great men and women in this organization, the storied history that we have here with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. I'd like to think that the organization sells itself, and it really does to a large extent, but sometimes you need some sweeteners, and that's why we've got Captain Robinson here with the Training Academy. A lot of you may remember him from his time here in public affairs. Captain Robinson and his people have really taken an aggressive approach into recruiting, wooing some of these experienced officers from other jurisdictions to come and serve here in Charlotte. I don't want to steal too much of his thunder, but he's going to talk about the benefits that we offer, how it benefits those officers looking to make the move, and more importantly, how it benefits our community to have that kind of experience in-house. Captain Robinson.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for being here today. Like Rob said, I'm Dave Robinson out of the Training Academy. And what we're really talking about is going after professional police officers who have a desire to serve in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. We're being assertive about that. We're being intentional about that. And yeah, to Rob's point, we're being aggressive about that. What that looks like for us is that if you're a lateral police officer or thinking about being one, if you're an existing sworn officer in any state in the United States, we want you. We want to talk to you. CMPD.org is our website. They can apply anytime, day or night. Now, does this mean we're abandoning our traditional recruitment approach with our regular new officers? Absolutely not. We still have traditional classes. 3, in fact, are scheduled in 2018. That's been a big part of our model. But under Chief Putney's leadership, what we've established and been directed to do is to go after those who are professional and who can serve the community more quickly at a higher level. And let me say that again, who can serve our community more quickly and at a higher level. These are people with proven track records. These are people with a proven dedication to serve. They are vetted, and I would say more strenuously in some cases than anybody, because we want to know exactly what their career has entailed thus far. But we have had really good luck with our laterals. Our lateral program thus far has yielded us a couple hundred people through the ranks and through the years. And what it's given us is an opportunity to see that the model works and that the program does work. And in this case, we're going to ramp it up a bit and make 2018 the year of the lateral, and we intend to do just that. What are your questions?
How many are you hoping to recruit?
How many are you going to get me? I think if we have openings right now for sure. Through Chief.
I think what he said is a minimum of 60. I think that's what I heard.
Minimum of 60, yes. So a couple of years ago, Chief Putney was very assertive in his desire, and the City Council answered the call for an additional 125 positions. Now, you also may remember back in the early to mid-90s, the federal government created a lot of COPS grants, which put a lot of people on the streets on the dime of the federal government. Well, now those people have done their 30 years and they're retiring. And so every so often in law enforcement, you get a period to where you really need to make an aggressive push for new people. And that's where we are now. We've got a combination of vision from our chief and our city government, as well as people who are retiring now, which creates kind of a perfect storm for us to be more creative, more aggressive, more assertive in how we go after these folks.
You're hoping for a minimum of 60, but how many positions do you have open? How many are really needed?
So here's the deal. So the number.
Why don't we get Chief Putney in here?
Absolutely.
I probably should have set the table a little bit better too. Our Chief was going to talk a little bit more globally about what our needs are.
Sure, very good question. We started this year down around 200 officers. So now we have that down to 150, and we have 70 who are currently training. So we're making good progress. We generally hire 120 to 130 in a year. Our issue right now over the next 3 years, we're going to, by attrition, lose a great number of officers, well beyond our normal attrition rate. So what we're having to do is ramp up our ability to bring them in. And traditionally, as Captain said, if you're in 120 to 130 range, you're never going to accommodate for the new allocations. So we're looking at ways, and this is a prime way, to bring people here who are already seasoned, who have a proven track record, inculcate them with our culture, show them how this community expects to police, and then within 6 weeks, they're going to be on the streets of Charlotte doing great work.
What incentives?
Incentives such as a residency incentive. If you move inside the jurisdiction, we're going to increase your pay over a couple of years. There's also, as always, the language incentive if you speak Spanish. We have a number of incentives around, too, paying you for that service. The goal is to even more professionalize our approach to recruitment. We want professionals come in here who have a proven track record, who all they need to do is figure out the culture of Charlotte, how to serve here, and do it at a higher level. So that's a couple of them. And around professionalism is, if you have 5 years in another agency, within 2 years, we're going to pay you for all that experience. The 2 years here, plus the 5 years at your other qualifying agency. Yes, sir.
Would a pay raise help, and is that something you will be pursuing with the new council?
Absolutely, a pay raise helps, without question. Here's the other thing we're doing. I'm going to tell you, I got to give a lot of credit to council, the mayor, and city manager. He's given us the flexibility to work within our budget to really aggressively go after seasoned officers and new officers alike who have the skill set, the courage, and the character to be cops. So within my budget, I'm also going to enhance the pay of laterals all the way back to 2007. Because if you're here already, you already had experience, I'm not going to overlook that. If we're going to be professionals, let's pay our people as such. But will I always ask for pay raises for our people? Without question. You'll see my ugly face doing that every year during budget season. Yes, sir.
Is there any additional or new training that these new officers that are coming in will undergo, just given like all the stuff that y'all have implemented over the last year?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Implicit bias, all of the de-escalation training that we heard from our community, and we've stepped up to do a lot more of that. They get all of that. Plus, they spend time with a seasoned officer after the month or month and a half that they spend at the academy. So none of that changes. They don't get exempted from any of those, that training, because that training establishes our culture.
Is it more challenging to fill positions now than it was 5 or 10 years ago?
It's more challenging than it was 2 years ago.
Why is that?
The environment. I mean, let's be honest. Great question, though. Great leading question. Our issue is, since 2013, with the impact of social media and the highlight around the officer-involved shootings, we've been struggling. Since last year, in the area of diversity, which is what we really were making some headway in, we've seen almost a 60% reduction in our ability to attract African Americans in particular. So yeah, we've taken a hit. And then you lay on another 10 or 12% with Latinos. So yes, this environment hurts us. And I'm gonna be honest. The other thing I'll say is we need to celebrate our brand better. Charlotte's a great city. It's a welcoming city. It has its challenges like any other city in the country. But what we're seeing is there are a lot of people interested coming here and contributing to this culture and being a part of Charlotte's future success. Yes, ma'am.
Based on what you just said about the challenges you're facing with recruiting, why would an experienced officer who knows his department and his city and his beat, why would they pick up and then come to another place for different challenges?
Because they get to work with me. Well, the reason is Charlotte's a fantastic city. We look through a different prism than a lot of people, too, is what we're seeing. We look at all the difficulties we've been through over the last few years. They look at the opportunity. They look at our growth. Here, we're one of the largest, we're the largest between D.C. and Atlanta. So people know they have a lot of upward mobility here. Just like the community is welcoming, we're going to help them establish themselves and their families. They see this as a shining beacon and progressiveness in policing. We kind of take it for granted here sometimes. So what we're seeing is, as we open the floodgate We're getting a lot of people who are interested, who already have proven themselves in this profession. Yes, sir.
What's caused CMPD to lose out on recruits from other cities up until now?
Well, the whole profession is struggling to recruit. So I don't know that we're, in particular, losing out, but what I see people leave for is benefits, pay, and sometimes a warmer climate. But we're in pretty good shape climate-wise as well. Oh, he wants to double up, I'm sorry.
Sorry, speaking of benefits, so a lot of other city employee groups have talked about the rising cost of family coverage
Yes.
here in Charlotte.
Yes.
How do you think that's going to affect things?
Well, here's the deal. Again, giving credit to our city manager, he comes in with a different vision. He's given us options, and what we're trying to do is take a holistic approach over a 30-year career. We're looking at how we incentivize to get you here. I just spoke to that. How we take care of current employees. I spoke to that too within our budget. And then we have, in our administrative services, has just launched a series of seminars coaching people and preparing people for retirement. So that vision that helps us tremendously as a city also impacts us as a police department. And that vision is why we're attracting a lot of people.
With getting these experienced officers, is the hope that they will be a little more mature and have a better rapport with the community than maybe, say, a rookie straight out of?
Obviously, they come with a higher maturity level. The age and experience helps. As I told you before, some of our mistakes are of the head, not the heart. They're trying to do the right thing. They just don't have that experience. Now we're getting people who actually have been through that trial period. So that does help us. The big thing for us is making sure their character matches our culture. That's the vetting that the captain talks about. That's the heavy lifting we do as we analyze the new people coming in. Yes, ma'am.
2 questions.
Yes.
When did the program start?
November 1st?
It started November 1st?
Yes.
And is there like a dollar figure? How much is this going to cost the department in terms of bringing in these new experts?
It depends on how many we get, but we have, as I said, the vacancy rate allows us to be able to cover all of these expenses. That would generally be the difference between a rookie and the seasoned officer. We have enough in our vacancy rate. So our current budget accommodates everything that I spoke of today, including enhancing the pay of laterals who've come here since 2007. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about if the vacancies that exist right now, are they impacting safety in the streets as we're
Very
talking?
good question. Very good question. We always carry a vacancy rate, and we're always sensitive to that impact. So we are still accommodating the Panther games, and we've increased the number that we deploy for those games in light of what we see all over the country. Is it tight on us? Absolutely, without a doubt. It has been for the last 5 to 10 years, but with the leadership of the mayor and council to give us that 125, we're starting to make that impact. I want to put a shot in the arm. I want to expand because our officers are consuming a lot of overtime. That's time away from their families. That's time on their feet. And we want to give them some relief. They deserve it. So this is how we're going to do that. So yes, it impacts us, but it doesn't impact the safety because we have a minimum standard that we never go below anywhere in the city.
Chief, what about a marathon this weekend? What's your staffing?
What's the staffing? It's significant. I'm not going to tell you the exact numbers because I don't want people to use that against us. I'm not being coy, truly. We will have, roughly 100 people making sure everybody's safe at the minimum. And that's how we pull with every case. I'm sorry. What is the actual staffing top? Just a range.
The approximate number of actual bodies that will be working is 400
There you
officers.
go.
That includes
Yeah.
us and Sheriff's Department.
Thank you. So 100 times 4 is about the staffing level it takes to do it right for the jurisdiction, but it's not just us.
And you're pulling from active officers on duty?
Pulling from everybody. Yes, ma'am. Pulling from everybody, including, as he said, the sheriff's office.
How does that number compare to previous years?
It's roughly the same. It's roughly the same. Now, we do add a little cushion every year because of what goes on nationally, but that's been pretty consistent. All right?
Chief, is this your idea? Is the lateral thing your idea?
Well, I said this is how I think we can make up the difference. I won't claim the idea. I think I just set the vision. I said, hey, this is something we've been doing for a decade. Can we do it better? And somebody picked up a challenge. My number is solid, a minimum of 60. I keep getting promises a lot higher. I'm not willing to risk my career on the higher number. I can tell you, a shot in the arm of 60 people getting on the street within 6 weeks at a time is going to be huge for patrol. It's going to be huge for the safety of our community. I'm excited about it. Credit goes to the whole organization. Credit also goes to the 60-plus people who are going to come here to contribute to the great city that we have here in Charlotte. All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I do have one example I need you to hear from. There we go. I can talk all day, and y'all will continue to ask me questions all day, but I have a scapegoat. I have an example of the quality of person that we get when we do this work, when we recruit people. He comes from Asheville. I can't quite understand how much experience he has. I think he's still negotiating that as we look to increase the pay of those laterals since 2007. He's at the training academy. You should recognize him. He's the face of our transparency workshops with Major Mike Campagna. Officer Sean Ward.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I don't think Officer Ward had anything prepared, but if I know a number of you have questions about what would prompt someone to come here to Charlotte, now would be the time to ask somebody who's actually done it.
Oh, don't be too hard on me now. How you guys doing? Well, I decided Charlotte for a couple of reasons. One, as the chief mentioned, the opportunities that Charlotte affords, not just the department, but the city itself. And because the department is very progressive and always thinking of better ways to improve, I felt that as a challenge. And for me, you know, a challenge is something that I look for. Each and every day I put this uniform on, and the department is about that challenge. So very progressive. So I wanted to come in with my experience, or have the opportunity to come in with my experience to be a part of that opportunity to be progressive and forward-thinking as much as the city and the department.
And how many years have you been in law enforcement?
That's a great question.
On the record, I've been in law enforcement about 15 years. December will be 15 years.
How long have you been here?
I've been in Charlotte for 3 years. Yes, ma'am. So I came with 12 years of experience.
Name and correct spelling?
Sean Ward, ShaunWard.
What was the difficulty, if any, in transitioning?
Being that the short distance away, not much difficulty because I did a lot of planning with my wife and the family. They were all on board. But I think just the culture, because there was a different culture in Asheville. You're looking in the agency, roughly 220 to 240 police officers coming to an agency, roughly 1,850, 1,900 officers. So the culture was a change for me, something that I had to adapt to over time.
Since this effort is about getting more experienced officers in, can you talk about how you're different as an officer now than when you first began as an officer?
Yes, the opportunities that's here. That's how I'm different. Because although I came with those many years of experience, I'm very appreciative of those years because that department presented me with a lot of opportunities there. But again, Charlotte's they're such a progressive department. They're always thinking outside the box. They're always creative. And those opportunities were something that I appreciated because they were different than where I came from.
When you were training, what was the big emphasis points?
Training.
Pre-training for CMPD.
The emphasis was how CMP does the job. That was the biggest emphasis. Not law enforcement in general, but just the way that CMPD does it with policies, procedures, expectations are a little bit different because, again, the environment is different. So that was a little bit of the training there.
What was the biggest difference, I guess?
The biggest difference, again, was just adapting to the way CMPD do business. Again, coming from an agency, I'm very familiar with how they do it, but coming here, although I could bring some of the skills, there's definitely some skills that I had to learn.
Anybody else for Officer Ward? We appreciate you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Officer Ward. We also have a number of you passed for, we had 2 officers who were running in the, well, 1 major and 1 officer who was running in the, did you need Captain Robinson again? We have more questions on laterals. Colleen?
Okay. Yes, ma'am, Colleen.
Captain, I know the program just started, but have you gotten any responses yet?
We have. The good news is that in the police community, and I mean that nationwide, the word is out, and so people know that we're looking for experienced talent that wants to come and contribute to this community. And so we do have a number of people in the hopper. And as I said, CMPD.org is how the first step takes place. So anybody who's watching this and wants to be part of that, that's how we would direct you. Or just call us in recruiting, and we'll make sure that you get the information that you need. Again, our goal is to be the safest city in the free world, and we can do that better, more quickly, and more efficiently with experienced police officers.
Wow. If there was ever a mic drop, I'd say that that's pretty darn close. Captain Robinson.
Anything else? Thank you.
Colleen, anything hanging out there, lingering, or anything? And we can keep the captain around if there's anything that you want to know that offline that the captain may be able to speak to. I guess it started over the weekend. We had a couple of our officers who were up in New York running in a little bit of a marathon, right? The biggest one in the world, right? New York Marathon. Major Cam Selby and Officer Cindy Wallace, who a lot of you know is with our Public Affairs Office. A lot of you had asked for some time with them. Unfortunately, Cindy is not available this morning, but Major Cam Selby is. So anyone interested in speaking with him offline, just let us know, and we'll go ahead and facilitate that to you. And just a little background. I saw him running again this morning, so apparently those legs aren't too rubbery after 26 some odd miles. He's back in the saddle. Anything else that's looming needs to be addressed that's hanging out there for the greater good before we call it a day? Mr. Paul.
Yeah, I want to touch on a couple of things. Yesterday you guys had a shooting over off of Brookshire and a 16 and a 14-year-old. Mm-hmm. I was hoping you guys could touch on that. I mean, we're seeing a lot of teenagers involved in specifically shootings. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, it's frustrating because we continue to talk about responsible gun ownership. You know, the initiative we did with Hyatt's Gun Shop and handing out safes, but we're having people who still, young people, you just sit at the ages, they're teens who are lacking in the ability to resolve minor conflict by talking through it. We talked about maturity, which is why we're going after mature officers, because we know it takes time and it takes experience, it takes years to get through that. That's a part of our community empowerment initiative too that we just launched. We're trying to teach people conflict resolution skills, mediation skills, so that they can talk through a minor dispute instead of grabbing a gun. Yes, it's frustrating.
Any plans to get something like that in the school?
So he had two. So I guess I gotta let him get both in.
He just mentioned he wants to make this the safest city in the free world. It seems like that's going to stand in the way when you
wow,
have...
that's a free world. I mean, he shot high, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There was a police chase too involving a 15-year-old over in Elizabeth.
Yes, sir.
And fired a gun.
Yes. Listen, let me tell you this. If we're not careful, we're going to lose a generation of talent that just because we didn't give them the skill set to resolve minor conflicts, we're going to miss them. They're going to be locked up or worse because there's a lot of gunplay. So there was a question about in the schools. Absolutely. We have a safety program already in the schools, and this is going to be a piece of it. We have a great relationship with community relations, obviously, in the city, and a lot of community partners who are going to teach conflict resolution person by person, family by family, neighborhood by neighborhood. It's going to take time because we didn't get here in a day. We have history to overcome. And let's be honest, in this profession, we have a lot of trust to build and enhance. But we're up to that challenge, and we're looking for seasoned people to help us. Yes, ma'am. Did we cover yours? I think I did.
Yeah.
You said schools, and I answered schools.
Yeah, if I could ask about
so now you have a follow-up. Yes, ma'am.
Well, just about something else, changing topics.
Yes, ma'am.
Just about the CRB and learning that Diaz was in a
Yes.
gang, and any comments on that?
I'm going to let them do their work, and I'll tell you this. I can appreciate what they're doing. They're between a rock and a hard place, and having lived there for a while, it's not comfortable. But I respect what they're doing because they're representing this community in a way that I think a lot of people miss. They've given recommendations, a lot of which have been very thoughtful and impactful. And I tell you this, inside baseball is giving me the opportunity and the leverage to push through some of the reforms that we need and not have to fight as hard. So the external oversight is a good thing. Their recommendations have been thoughtful. a lot of which we have already implemented, and we'll be talking about that too in the next few weeks, giving you another rendering of those recommendations and the actions we've taken. I think it makes us better. It definitely makes us stronger as a community, and it helps to enhance that trust. Yes, ma'am?
Chief, can I switch you back to the juvenile offenders? I know you guys have the diversion program
Yes.
for the nonviolent crimes, but it's been, you know, a couple of times that we've talked about the juveniles and the escalating. Are you seeing that the juveniles committing more violent crimes, are they younger and younger?
I wouldn't say they're younger and younger, but 14 to 16 is far too young. I just think it's, what we're seeing is that some of their acts are becoming a bit more violent. I don't know that they're committing more acts, but I just think some of them are becoming a bit more egregious. When you're running from cops and you have guns and you're shooting at each other, that's a recipe for disaster. I just think now people are a lot more apt to use a weapon and make those bad decisions than before. I don't know that we're having more incidents just with juveniles in particular, though. All right, what else?
Wow, you're hanging out today.
No, I'm not. I'm leaving. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Major sale will be available to anybody interested in speaking with them. Appreciate it.